So, Derek, yesterday we had the gut-wrenching news that PlayStation are drawing out of physical media entirely, but wrapped within that statement and hidden there was also the news that the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita store is officially shutting down for real this time. And you've got the exact dates on when this is happening, because it's rolling out around the world. So what are the exact dates for everyone?
So according to the PlayStation blog, it's happening much sooner for Mexico, Honduras, and Nicaragua. It's closing starting August 2026. You literally have a month left if you're living in those countries. If you're living in additional Latin American countries and some Middle Eastern countries, they don't really go into specifics. They just say additional Latin American and Middle Eastern. They'll start closing late 2026. Everywhere else, the PS3 and PS Vita stores will close by July 2027. So everybody else has a year. Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua, you get a month. Sorry, why? I don't get that, but that's some BS.
It's a very short amount of time. And the PlayStation 3 store is very slow as well. It's not the greatest thing to use. So within that month, actually buying and playing those games is going to take you quite a long time. And there's a lot of stuff out there. This is also an era, though, where a lot of the content is shared between Xbox and Steam. So we specifically want to focus more on what's exclusive digitally to PS3 and PlayStation Vita. Derek's also going to go a bit more into the retro side as well, about PS1 and PS2 and some PSP games that you can get. But let's start off a little bit just with some raw PSN digital exclusives that were not released in retail, weren't released on Xbox, weren't released on Steam. I want to start with Echo Chrome. And Echo Chrome 1 came to PSP. Also came to PlayStation 3 as like an HD version. But then Echo Chrome 2 was only PlayStation 3 exclusive. And there was a physical version only in Japan, but everywhere else, so America, Europe, the rest of the world, it was just PSN for that release. And for those who have no idea what Echo Chrome is, it's basically a puzzle platformer where you can shift the world around and your perspective will change. So a platform that looks like you can't make it to begin with will suddenly be a connected bridge when you shift the camera around and just manipulate the environment. It's a very clever puzzle series. And the second one had some cool PlayStation Move stuff in there as well. It's like the first game's one of the most iconic PSP games, I'd say. And the second one's just a really cool way to build on top of all that stuff. So you can technically still import that from Japan, but it's a little bit trickier and will absolutely get a hell of a lot more expensive.
Oh yeah, just with shipping, if you're going to import, geez.
And you know what, just to quickly rattle off some of the stuff that was released physically in parts of the world, we've also got the Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles HD versions on PS3. They had a physical, yeah. They had them and Dead Space Extraction were on PS3. Dead Space Extraction you can get in the Dead Space 2 Special Edition. So if you hunt that down, you can still get that on a disc. But the Resident Evil Chronicles games only had a physical in Japan. And it's quite expensive now. It'll probably get way more expensive later. Another one is Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty. That's got a physical in Europe, but nowhere else. No, not in Japan, not in America. And then Tokyo Jungle has no physical in Europe. So in America, it actually had a 4-pack. So you had Tokyo Jungle, Fat Princess, Sound Shapes, and then When Vikings Attack. And that was all in one package as a retail disc. Japan had a beautiful, just standalone Tokyo Jungle with one of the best box arts I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. But it's one you have to import to get physically in Europe, though. So those are the games that you can still kind of get, but it's you've got to jump through hoops to get them. But let's go on to a pure PlayStation Network exclusive, and I think this is a huge one. House of the Dead 4. So House of the Dead, you can get on Sega Saturn. House of the Dead 2, you can get on Dreamcast. House of the Dead 3's on Xbox. And then 4 didn't get a physical version anywhere. House of the Dead 4 is only on PlayStation Network. So when the store goes down, suddenly an entry in House of the Dead will just be unpurchasable. And this is a great PlayStation Move game. It's a pretty cool House of the Dead. not the most iconic one, but just having a piece of this franchise going missing to just being in arcades again, especially when House of the Dead 4 isn't a particularly common arcade machine, it definitely burns.
You don't really hear about it a lot, so
yeah.
it definitely feels more like lost media.
And you know what? There's a few like cool games like that were sort of like standalone DLCs, and one that I can think of is Infamous Festival of Blood. This was Infamous 2 DLC. Apart from you didn't need the main game, so it's like a standalone expansion. So we'll talk about more DLC later on, but this is basically its own like it's almost like Infamous First Light, where it's just like it's like following on from the main game. Really, really cool one in there. And some other really cool stuff. We've got Lemmings, which I think a lot of people assume this is a PSP port to PlayStation 3 because the artwork is really similar. But it's not. This is a completely original Lemmings, completely original puzzles, different art style. And it's only like £3. This is ridiculously cheap. And it's a pretty great version of Lemmings. Also got Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, which is a HD version of the PSP game, but with online play, new characters, and just more stuff. And this is also like a really cheap one. It's like £7 without a sale. And it is technically on PSP as well, but it's not the same game. It's a expanded version. So losing that's gonna suck.
Yeah, it's also like on PSP it's harder to do multiplayer. So if you want to do like even just local, there you go.
Yeah. Another sort of talking about PSP, there's a Loco Roco on PlayStation 3, and this is another really cheap one. This is like £2. It's Loco Roco Coco Reco, and it's a bit different to the other Loco Rocos. It's not just like a pure story game because it's so cheap. It's more of like a little sandbox where you can go around and just do little mini games. I saw when this first came out, people were calling it like a glorified screensaver, but it really isn't. There's lots of really cool things you can do in there. And it's just nice seeing everything in HD, because it was just on a PSP series for a while. But yeah, this is a really neat one. And I think one game which kind of stings because it never released on Steam, I don't think it's backwards compatible on Xbox, is Galaga Legions, which is basically the Pac-Man Championship edition of Galaga.
Yeah, that's a shame to lose that, to have that.
PS3 is like the only version of that one left.
Oh God, it's going the route of the Rebirth trilogy.
Yeah, it definitely is. Just to keep on rattling them off, Rain is an interesting one because Rain does have a physical in Japan. Doesn't have English language though, but there is a English language Asian version of Rain that goes for like £600 on eBay. So it's a really expensive one. Technically exists, you have to import and you've got to pay a lot of money to get the English version. But it's a rad little game. Do you remember this one? It's that sort of like horror exploration game where you're invisible when you're not in the rain. And when you are in the rain, you get like a silhouette and you're being like hunted down by monsters. This is a really cool one.
It's been a while. I once you said it, I remembered it, but I didn't remember it at the time. It's like I missed out on it because honestly, I'm like trying to calculate like, okay, what can I get? Because I don't have the money to get everything. But it's like, what do I really want from all of this? And that's gonna be the tough part of this, is narrowing it down to be like, okay, what do you have the budget for in order to preserve all this? Because I still actually have my PS3 hooked up. Because of these older games, it's not too hard to play in a lot of cases. Honestly, when you said Rain, my first thought was Pain, which is not a fantastic game, but it will be lost media because I don't think that ever got any physical releases or anything.
I don't think so. Yeah, but yeah, it's gonna suck to have lose access to easily accessible Rain because that's a really cool game, and you've got to be rich now to get it. Then we have MotorStorm RC, which I thought maybe did have a physical in Vita, but that was code in a box before its time. And it's just a neat MotorStorm spin-off that plays a bit like RC Pro-Am, where it's like isometric view. You still got like all the really cool MotorStorm physics though. Pretty neat game. It is also on Vita, but as code in a box digital, so it's going missing there as well. Bomberman Ultra. That was PSN exclusive, didn't come to Xbox, didn't come to PC. it's a pretty great Bomberman. I remember this one had lots of customization. Like you can change like what you're wearing on your hat, on your body. There was something like 1,500 like possible customization options. So it's not like a necessarily the most bombastic Bomberman, but it's a neat one that's a shame to go missing.
Yeah.
Few more out there. NFL Blitz, there was a remake of that on PSN and Xbox. Apart from the Xbox version is not backwards compatible, so that's gone because the 360 store is gone now. So that the PS3 version is the only one left. And I think the only major big PS3 game, not counting DLCs that I have listed here, is Ratchet and Clank, or not even Ratchet and Clank, just Ratchet Deadlocked, the HD version.
Yeah.
So we had a physical trilogy, and then Deadlocked was just sold on its own on PSN.
It's not like the best version to get, but it's also like your only option unless you hunt down a PS2 copy, and I don't know how much a PS2 copy costs.
Yeah, the issues are mostly isolated to the cutscenes. That the gameplay has problems. That there's some missing effects, but it's not quite as bad as it's led out to be. Like the performance is quite similar to PS2, but it's high resolution. It's got trophies, so it's nice just having them all in one place, and it does have all the stuff that the other HD versions have. So it's problematic maybe in some areas, but it's still a pretty cool version.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was trying to curate this to just being the stuff that you have to get. So that's my list of just the core PlayStation 3 PSN games that you should get before the store goes down. We've got more to talk about, but before we do, let's give Derek a chance to speak. I guess starting with PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah, I started with PlayStation 1 and going through, and it's a lot of what I found. Like there's definitely a lot of stuff in there that is has not been put out on PS4 or PS5 PSN since. There's a lot of stuff that is on other consoles or has been re-released. Like, hey, you have Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. That's now available in Good Old Games. Same with Dino Crisis 1 and 2. That's now available in Good Old Games. Breath of Fire. A lot of the Capcom stuff has gone to Good Old Games and then onto Steam. So it's definitely helped it expand out a little bit. But there's a lot of stuff that is only on PS1, only on PS3 PSN, and has not really had any kind of re-release. And there's definitely more than what I got here. But what stood out, I picked out what stood out to me as sort of like some hidden gems or stuff that didn't get like if you went Classic Crash, you could still get Classic Crash, for example. That's not the new
the Insane Trilogy version.
Insane Trilogy. Yeah,
it's
really
also worth
original.
noting with PS1, if you buy them now on PlayStation 3 and Vita, and they are available on PS5, they're half the price, and it just carries forward. So instead of paying like usually it's like £8 or £9 for PS1 games on PS5, you can pay £4, like $3.99 for the exact same game. And not only will you play it on PS3 and Vita, but you also get it on PS5. And that goes for all the games that aren't sold separately. It's like Resident Evil's only in the PlayStation Plus premium subscription. But if you buy it now on PS3 and PS5, you still get it on PS5 anyway. So that's just a cool workaround, and that's going to go missing soon. So it's time to buy up those games.
Yeah. Break out that cash. Speaking of Crash, though, if you want the original version of Crash Team Racing, not the remake that has all kinds of extra stuff into it, it's from across all the racing games, Crash Team Racing is up there and probably worth getting if you want to have the classic adventure mode that it has and everything else in there. Going through, I saw a mention of Symphony of the Night. There is the original Symphony of the Night is on there, but if you still have access to Requiem, it doesn't have the original voice acting. So if you want Symphony of the Night with the original voice acting, this is the version you want to get.
Yeah.
If you want to have the what does a man and all that sort of thing. Castlevania Chronicles. It's basically a remake of Castlevania 1 for the, I think it was this, I want to say it was the Sharp. This is a remake of that makes it a little bit easier. So this is like, not an amazing game or anything like that, but it's an interesting piece of Castlevania lore that's not going to be as easily accessible anymore. It's definitely going to be harder to discover in that way. So that's one to keep out on. Game that a lot of people were asking for re-releases from Konami that has not happened yet. Bloody Roar 1 and 2. Those are have not come up forward. Konami has not really done anything with that. There's, I think the GameCube version is generally seen as the best version, but if you still want to get to the origins of the series and what it was capable of, you got Bloody Roar 1 and 2. Other, classic horror, Silent Hill. Silent Hill 1 only still is not available digitally anywhere else. Kind of crazy to think about. There is the rumor of the remake, but if you see the difference between the remake of Silent Hill 2 and the original, it's similar, but if you want that classic experience, you might want to pick this one up.
Exactly.
Parappa has gone forward. Unjammer Lammy has not.
Yeah, which is a crime.
Yeah, if you want to get Unjammer Lammy, you're gonna get this. You gotta want to pick up that one. One I don't know too much about, but I saw who developed it. I was like, you know what, this seems like worth mentioning. A platformer on PS1 called Pandemonium, which was developed by Toys for Bob. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking forward to Spyro and whatnot, you want to take a look at some of the earlier games. Pandemonium is maybe a pretty decent choice.
Yeah.
Then, as far as other Capcom stuff that you might lose access to, Strider 2, short game, action-packed. Like, this is like pure arcade action, not very difficult, kind of short, but it's a thrill ride. Really gets you that sense of power from Strider as you go. You're just slashing everything in sight. Really fun one. And then you of course have the ones we haven't had in a Mega Man collection yet: Legends 1, 2, and Tron Bonne.
Yes,
this is your only chance to really get those.
Yeah, exactly. On the sort of classics talk, obviously like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 are on modern platforms, but they have the really HD models with the blurry backgrounds. I think they're much better looking in their original states, and you can get them on PSN in their original states on both PS3 and Vita. And it's particularly gorgeous on Vita because it's just that original resolution, just looking gorgeous on that small screen. That's a really nice version of those games.
Yeah. I considered adding those in, but it's like they are available technically modern. But if you want the original, the classic, and not have the upscales or the not have the upscales or have the modern conveniences, I guess you can go with over those versions. But speaking of, there's a lot of RPGs you probably want to consider, because RPGs tend to be some of the most expensive on the used market that you want to keep an eye out on if you want to pick up and try yourself. You have the action RPG Alundra, which is very Zelda-like as well. You want to pick that one up. You have Arc the Lad 1, 2, and 3. Hey, we have Front Mission 3 is a remake from Forever Entertainment. Do not play that version. Get the original. Front Mission 3 on PS3. That's the version you play. Trust me. You have Xenogears. You have Vagrant Story. You have Parasite Eve 1 and 2. You have a more unknown action RPG from Square that's quite fun and charming. Threads of Fate. And then the last RPG, still have not gotten a modern version of it at all. Persona 2 Eternal Punishment.
Yes.
That's a big one. If you want the original Persona 2. And then EU only, Vib Ribbon. Only in Europe can you get this one, but I don't know if there's like multiple accounts that you can do to go for that one.
Well, we'll never get Vib Ribbon again. Ever.
No.
Because there's not going to be a disc drive again. The whole point of Vib Ribbon is putting your own CDs in and doing a rhythm game to those songs. Maybe they'll do a new Vib Ribbon one day, but this version of Vib Ribbon can never exist again with their new discless format.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that's awful.
Yeah.
I've never played it myself, so because it never came out in the States, and I never tracked it down in any real way. But there's definitely some big ones on here. It's like, oh jeez, pick this one, get these if I can. But those are sort of the major PS1 games. Obviously, if you want to take a look at a grander list to see if there's anything more towards your personal taste. But those are the ones that struck me as haven't been released, kind of in demand, and kind of harder to find anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll go back and
PS1.
forth between new and old stuff in that case. So let's go from PS1 games straight into PlayStation 3 DLC. So I want to focus mostly on the first-party games, and a lot of this stuff was multiplayer, which is no real use in the era of when they've turned off the online servers. So this is mostly a very curated list then. So we've got Everybody's Golf DLC. So there's Everybody's Golf. You can buy it right now on PlayStation 3 and get the physical disc, but you cannot get the DLC. And they delisted all the DLC individually and made it so you have to buy the whole game again on the digital store, which has the DLC included. So it's a bit of a scummy way of doing it. But if you do that, you get Kratos and Sackboy and Kiryu and all these other golfers just from the PlayStation Expanded Universe playing with custom animations, custom voice lines. Really, really cool. Adds a lot of flavor to that game, which is just going to be gone now. And I guess on that crossover side, PlayStation All-Stars, that had DLC with Isaac from Dead Space. You had Zeus, you had Emmett Graves, and then the major one is Cat from Gravity Rush. So them and some stages associated with them are just going to be ripped away. That game's already lost its online play, but the fact that if you were to go to one of the bustling PlayStation All-Stars tournaments in this day and age, you couldn't play as Cat unless the console has it already. And that sucks. Yeah, like maybe one day, I guess that's already happening with like Smash for Wii U and 3DS. You're stuck with what you've got, and it's a huge shame. But that's true for a lot of fighting games from this era, from Tekken to Street Fighter. Like you really have to either find like definitive disc versions or stick to modern platforms, which hopefully still have them. And Little Big Planet is a whole mess right now.
Boy.
Whole mess. There's so much DLC for that game, and I think a lot of it's just gone now because they took the games offline because of the hackers. But there used to be so much. Think of any franchise, and it was probably in Little Big Planet as a costume. Some of them had item packs, like there was a Metal Gear one with like paintball guns. This used to be most of what the PlayStation Store was, just Little Big Planet DLC. But yeah, that's much harder to get now. Pick Miner mentioned it earlier, was the Portal 2 in Motion DLC. And we've covered this before in a Valve video ages ago. But it's basically PlayStation 3 exclusive PS Move content, where you kind of have like a portal gun, gravity gun combo, and you can move, like you can expand the size of cubes. There's just puzzles completely tailored to this original control scheme. It's something that's going to go missing forever, and it's pretty good and clever content. Only ever on PS3 though.
Yeah. I never picked up a PlayStation Move, so that limits me in some ways. I don't know how easy it is to find PlayStation Move controllers anymore.
And the last thing I have here on this curated list, again, there's so much more DLC out there, is Dragon Guard 3, which has a prologue chapter as DLC, and also the Japanese language as DLC. And there's more, there's costumes and all that, but a whole prologue is huge content.
Yeah, very much so. Gosh, that's one I want to see them do more with Drakengard. So that's definitely one to keep an eye out on, just in general, is maybe picking that up. Yeah, the DLC might be a little bit trickier. How good is PS3 emulation anymore? I honestly don't know.
It's gotten to a pretty good state. Like you can definitely rely on it to play games effectively. Obviously, it differs from game to game, but it's in a good place now. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good at least. But yeah, that's all your DLC. I will jump into PS2. Some of the games here, and some of the ones that stood out to me. This is a launch game. This is a cute co-op game, but I feel like, you know what? This is a From Software game. This is going to surprise a lot of people.
I know what you mean.
The Adventures of Cookies and Cream.
Awesome game. There's like a Mario Party mini game in one of the GameCube ones, I think, where you're working as a team on either side of the screen, just trying to get towards the end, doing like puzzles for each other. It's that, but as a full game. Yeah,
it's very adorable. It's weird to think it's like, because for whatever reason that game stuck out to me ever since launch PS2. I never picked it up because I never really had a lot of anybody to really play it co-op with. Mm-hmm. But it's really funny to look back and think, oh, FromSoft developed this.
Yeah, they used to do a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety there for a while. We got another Castlevania here. Unfortunately, Curse of Darkness is not on PS2, but the original Lament of Innocence is. It's quite good. It's sort of like your beginning point. It's not like amazing, but it's a very solid 3D Castlevania that I think you can find some certain definite enjoyment out of. Another one, if you want you like your quirky games, Tulip.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That one's definitely one to keep an eye out on. Then there's some Contra games. I don't know too much about the 3D Contras. They don't typically get a good reputation, but I thought I'd still mention that you'll be losing access to Contra, Shattered Soldier, and Neo Contra, which I think are at least decent. I don't remember hearing bad things about them. It's just like it's not the same as the old 2D ones. Type thing.
I mean, these are the games that probably won't re-release as well. So this is their kind of last digital stand, probably.
Yeah, exactly. What I decided to pick out, especially because of all the recent Dead or Alive 5 last round news out there. If you want the original Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore, I don't think it's been re-released at all. This is your best chance to get that. And that was a favorite of mine as a kid. Devil Summoner... We just got the Raito Kuzunoa remake for the original game. No sign of the second one yet. If you want Devil Summoner, both are on here, but if you want Devil Summoner 2 specifically, that is available here as well to keep an eye out on. And from my understanding, a lot of the combat evolution of how they improved things for that remake is basically taken from the second game. So you'll begin something kind of similar to that with this one. So good to keep an eye out on. Another one as far as horror, Fatal Frames 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. 2 just did get its remake, but I don't think it's gotten the best reception. I've not kept too close on that one. But at the very least, you also have 1 and 3 on here if you want classic Fatal Frame. Another one, I can't recommend this. It's quirky, but I can't recommend it enough. God Hand. Do not miss out on God Hand.
Absolutely.
You got to get God Hand.
Yeah.
So good. Let's see. Going down through. We got the Grandia 1 and 2 collection. You can also find Grandia 3 and Extreme. I don't really agree with things about Extreme. Never really hear people talk about Grandia 3, but again, RPGs that might be a lot harder to find after the point. Yes. If you find yourself interested in that. By that same token, Suikoden 3 and 4. We got the 1 and 2 collection. Don't know much about 3 and 4. You want to pick up 3 and 4 if you want to get more of Suikoden and have the entire series in that way, because I can't imagine they're cheap physically.
Nope.
And then continuing that RPG train. One, I'm really hoping that Atlas does something with eventually in the same way they did Raito, but who knows when that's going to happen. The Digital Devil Saga duology. This is a very different SMT game. It's basically, from my understanding, from my research when I did the retrospective all that time ago, that got me really interested in these two games. Imagine Final Fantasy X crossed with Shin Megami Tensei as far as battle systems concerned. It seemed really interesting and has a, I think it's like an Indian mythology style to it for as far as the plot and the themes and whatnot. So it seems really interesting. And these are two very connected games, so you'll probably want to pick up both. Then we got a strange one here where we have Maximo 1 and 2. However, Maximo 1 is only available is available in both the States and Europe. Maximo 2 is only available in Europe.
Dang. Weird.
Yeah, so if you want Maximo versus the Army of Zin, I think it is, you can only get it in Europe. Very strange. Another one that's sort of like I picked out two other games that are sort of like you don't see too often, didn't get the best reception, but they're interesting enough that I thought, I'll bring it up. Rygar, the Legendary Adventure from Tecmo, that's kind of went trying to go God of War with it. I heard it was fine, but that's available. You don't really see that. I highly doubt it's going to get a re-release. Probably one to keep an eye out And then Shinobi just got Art of Vengeance. We got the PS2 Shinobi here with its own sort of unique style. Definitely a hard game, but I don't know if Sega's ever going to re-release this game, so might be one to consider picking up.
Yeah. Is that everything from PlayStation 2?
That's all I grabbed. Those are the big ones I picked up from PlayStation 2. Obviously, there's more.
PS2's a minefield of variety. There's so much you can get there.
Oh, yeah.
With PlayStation Vita, this was kind of the era where indie was becoming a lot more easily accessible. So everything that's released on Steam tended to come to PS4 and PS Vita and Xbox One as well. So I think this was largely like the first echo of a portable indie machine, but it also meant not that much was exclusive to PS Vita's store, mostly because of that. And Sony weren't really making smaller games like they were on PSP and PS3, so this is a lot more limited. But one game is another Lemmings game, actually, the last console Lemmings, Lemmings Touch. It's all right, not the best Lemmings, but it's the last in the franchise, apart from the mobile game. So it's pretty noteworthy. So if you're a fan of Lemmings, you should probably get this before the store goes down. Another one is Super Stardust Delta, which is an awesome, awesome game. But otherwise, I haven't really got a whole lot more PS Vita, PSN exclusives, because this wasn't really the era for that kind of stuff. But there is still some DLC out there. Everybody's Golf has some cool PlayStation DLC. Kat was showing up all over the place at this point, and she's a really cool character in this one. One that's going to return soon, but hasn't yet, is Muramasa. So Muramasa Rebirth is coming out. That's coming out soon. That was a expanded PlayStation Vita game, but it also had DLC with just completely new story beats, and that is going to go missing temporarily before coming back in the Switch version. But yeah, for now, we are going to be missing that for a little bit. And there are more downloadable things out there, but I think one major one is Ridge Racer. Because Ridge Racer on PS Vita is very bare bones. There's not much you can do. There's no campaign. There's barely any cars. There's not really much to do in that game. But the core is good. It's a good Ridge Racer game. And kind of scummily, they sold it most of the extra content through DLC packs. So not ideal, but there is a good game in there if you do go through the silver and gold packs. And you're kind of left with the last echo. Sorry, go ahead, Derek.
I forgot. Speaking of Ridge Racer 4 is on PS1, so that's one might be.
Yeah, Type 4 is it's probably the best in the franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Ridge Racer on Vita is one of the last ones we ever got. And this is probably one people skipped over, maybe because they heard there was a lack of content, and there definitely is. But if you give them a bit more money, you end up with a pretty great Ridge Racer. And we're probably not due a new one anytime soon.
That's why I skipped a Pick Miner, because it got released on PS4 and PS5. I was like, why did I skip that one? It feels like that's a huge one, but that's because it just got re-released. So, okay, good. Not being completely lost, but hey, if you want it cheaper because of that whole system, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about Monkey Ball Banana Splits' Boob DLC. That you can't buy that anymore. But there is other DLC out there that you can get. Not quite as weird as that. But that stuff's going to be going from the store as well. But, this wasn't really Vita's field. Vita very much had a plethora of very readily available games and was very supported in the physical form as well. But we're not losing quite as much as PS3 here.
Remember how much of a flop it was? The Vita. They had, what is the Vita Go? It was just like a flip thing.
Oh, the PSP Go, yeah.
Oh, PSP Go. That's where it flopped. It's that far back that Sony was trying to go for digital only.
That's right. Yeah, and people hated it, and it did flop. Yeah. All these years on, it's become kind of like a homebrew darling because people don't care. Well, you can just put whatever game you want on there anyway. Right. But as a commercial product, it was people were not there for that.
No. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But speaking of PSP, I picked out a few of the games on there. Don't have a wider breadth of a knowledge of PSP, so I did my best to try to pick out maybe some interesting games. If you want that midquel between Jak and Daxter 1 and 2, boy, we have Daxter.
We sure
Not
do.
heard the best things, but there's Daxter for you. more interesting, especially because we have a more recent game, but does not play anything like this. Dissidia, Final Fantasy, and Duodecim. You might as well just pick up Duodecim, which is I think 012. It's like 012 Dissidia Final Fantasy when you see it written out, because it includes the entirety of the first game's storyline plus all the characters. It's just more efficient to get Duodecim. But speaking of Final Fantasy, we have gotten re-releases of these, but I thought I'd still mention them because you have the Final Fantasy 3 remake, and you have to. If you want to get that physically on DS, that's probably going to still be kind of expensive. They get a nice clean version of this on PSP, might be worth considering. And then also Final Fantasy IV, the complete collection, which some would probably argue is the best version of Final Fantasy IV because it is gorgeous, has gorgeous visuals. And if you care about the after years, this is how you get the after years. So might be worth picking up in that way.
Yeah.
Then you have, of course, your God of War games with Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. I know they got a collection. I forget, was that a PS3 collection or is that a PS4 collection?
PS4 only got God of War 3 for some reason.
Yeah, they had these like collections on PS3, but yeah, I get that. By that same token, they're still stuck there.
Yeah.
Another great one. Really, it feels like this game should come back. Half Minute Hero.
Oh yeah, wonderful game.
Like it plays so well, and it really does fit that just pick up and play attitude for it. Really, really great one. Two that I put in here, wasn't quite sure the quality of, but they're still sort of going, and I feel like they got pretty decent reviews. Killzone Liberation, which is more of a top-down one, and then Resistance Retribution in the same way, which gets more of a third-person type thing, which I heard they're both pretty good. And then going back to Mega Man, Maverick Hunter X, great version of that. Weirdly enough, it does not seem like Powered Up came to the PSP, digital PSN.
Yeah, there's a few like pretty big hitters that didn't. Crisis Core is another one. Crisis Core just never got digital release for some reason. I don't think the GTAs did either, right? Liberty City Stories.
I think the GTA. I did see the GTAs listed there. So
they did.
You do have Chinatown Wars. You have the stories. You have those type of games. I'm trying to think of like there was one other that was in there. There's a few like that have it, but they're also available elsewhere. So it's not they didn't put them on there. But, there's definitely some classics on the PSP. Oh, Kingdom Hearts never got digitally released. Birth by Sleep. But Birth by Sleep is available everywhere, so it's not like that's a huge deal that you want to play the original. But yeah, those are sort of the major ones that stuck out to me for PSP as far as classics. Obviously, if there's any others out there, let me know. PSP is kind of a bit of a blank spot for me. I picked up a few games, but not a ton. But yeah, it's weird to think about some of these games that just haven't been released, still have not been re-released, or are still tough to get. It's crazy.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't sting quite as much losing like PS1, PS2, PSP because that stuff is going to be that exists on a disc at the very least, but it is going to affect everything though. The prices on a secondhand market, they're going to go way higher. There's nothing. There's no bottom line. There's nothing keeping them there. We've had other,
of course, and emulation is available, but it all depends on how comfortable you are with emulation. So you got to keep that in mind.
Emulation doesn't really control the value market either. It's usually official means of access. We had one more great Vita DLC mention from Matty Meister, which was the Killzone Bot DLC. Apparently, the multiplayer mode, which is now inaccessible, was sold as an offline mode with bots. So the last time to ever play that mode is by buying that bot DLC.
That's all right, sure.
That's pretty major.
Yeah, it is.
Killzone on Vita's pretty good too.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Oh gosh. So what stands out for you, John? What do you have to get?
There's a couple of things here. Yeah. I've got most of what I want already, but there's a couple here which I think I do need to hunt down. Bomberman Ultra is one. Big Bomberman fan. That's probably one that won't ever get re-released. Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection HD. I love Tekken 5 on PSP. Played that. That was like my main Tekken ever, really, I'd say. And and I never played the console version. Online probably isn't active anymore, but that's one I definitely got to hunt down. Otherwise, I've got most of what I'm after, really. Probably actually the Ridge Racer DLC as well. I've got the main game. I liked it enough, but I do need to explore more of it.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely gonna be RPGs. Like I should pick up Alundra. I should pick up Arc the Lad. I have some of these physically, but like Persona 2 and Devil Summoner 2 and SMT Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2. Those are the type of games it's like, I should probably pick those up. Because RPGs are just like, oh God. You just see the cost of some of these and it's just insane how much you're expected to potentially pay. Just going on to eBay real quick and let's put in Suikoden 3. Okay, actually those prices aren't too bad. $30 right now.
All right. Yeah, nab it now before it goes up.
Yeah. So if you want physical, you can get that. But see Digital Devil Saga, that sort of thing. But it's wow. Why I didn't realize PS2 was still kind of reasonable.
It depends on the game for sure. Most Atlas games are not reasonable.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that it's this reasonable. It's like $40. What the hell?
It definitely depends on the game. But that's probably all the stuff we're talking about today. This is a whole store full of content, though, and people have been discussing it already in live audience. But continue this conversation in the comments. Keep recommending stuff. Try and focus on the exclusives, but also just mention any games that you love, which, especially if you have the base game on PS3 already and the DLC's going, it still sucks that that's happening, because then you've got to buy the game again if you want to try and play it somewhere else, which blows. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. You can join the box down there, which is live audience. They've been discussing this entire time and watching it way before we set the video live. And you can be one of them over on our Patreon. So thank you again, everybody, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.